There was a moment when everything felt like it was falling apart. The weight of failures, disappointments, and unfulfilled dreams crushed down on him like an unbearable storm. He had worked tirelessly for years, pouring his heart and soul into something he believed in, only to watch it crumble before his eyes. The temptation to quit, to walk away and accept that maybe he wasn't meant for greatness, whispered in his ears like a relentless echo. He found himself staring at his reflection in the window, the tired eyes of a man who had given everything he had. Was this truly the end of his road? Or was it just another bend leading somewhere unexpected? The world had a way of testing those who dared to dream, and right now, it felt as though he was being pushed to his limits. He wondered how many people had stood exactly where he was now, staring at the crossroads of despair and persistence. How many had given up just moments before success? How many had chosen to take just one more step and found themselves on the other side of the storm? He imagined the weight of unfulfilled dreams across time, people who walked away just as they were about to witness their efforts come to fruition. He thought about those who fought through doubt and found triumph waiting beyond the struggle. The question was no longer about whether he could go on, but whether he would choose to. But then, a memory surfaced. A story of a man who had failed 1,000 times before inventing a light bulb that illuminated the world. A woman who was rejected over and over before her words became the foundation of beloved books read by millions. A runner who collapsed just meters before the finish line, only to stand back up and finish the race against all odds. These weren't just stories. These were testimonies of the relentless human spirit, the essence of perseverance. He recalled reading about countless others who had walked this same path, each one facing moments of doubt so heavy that turning back seemed inevitable. And yet, something inside them, something deeper than fear, had pushed them forward. Was it stubbornness? Was it faith? Or was it the unshakable belief that they were meant for something more? He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. What if his struggle wasn't a sign of failure, but a test of how badly he wanted it? What if the pain, the rejection, the setbacks were not barriers, but stepping stones to something greater? The thought sent a shiver down his spine. He wasn't alone in this battle. The greatest minds, the most successful individuals, all walked through fire before they emerged victorious. He thought about the musicians who played to empty rooms before filling stadiums, the entrepreneurs who lived off pennies before creating billion-dollar empires. Greatness wasn't born in comfort, it was forged in adversity. And maybe, just maybe, this moment was another step in that process. Another push towards something unimaginable. He thought back to when he first started, the fire that burned in his heart, the dreams that seemed so vivid, so real. Had that fire truly been extinguished, or was it merely buried under layers of doubt? He had seen others succeed, but not because they never failed. They succeeded because they refused to give up when they stood at the edge of despair. And now, here he was, standing at that very edge, contemplating whether to take a step back or leap forward into the unknown. He remembered a conversation he once had with a mentor, a man who had seen the darkest of days, but refused to surrender. Do you know why most people don't succeed? The mentor had asked. It's not because they lack talent. It's not because they aren't capable. It's because they give up right before their breakthrough. They let fear dictate their decisions instead of courage. Those words lingered in his mind now, pressing against his hesitation like a beacon of light cutting through fog. Failure wasn't the opposite of success. It was a prerequisite. Every setback he had faced had taught him something valuable. Every rejection had strengthened him. Every delay had prepared him. What if he was just one step away from his greatest victory? The thought ignited something within him. A quiet determination replaced the suffocating despair. He stood taller, his heartbeat steadying. No, he would not let this moment define him. He would not allow defeat to claim his story. So, he picked up the pieces, not with resignation, but with renewed purpose. He adjusted his sails, knowing the storm wasn't meant to drown him, but to teach him how to navigate. He whispered to himself, "Not yet. I'm not done yet." Because the truth is, everyone reaches a point where they want to give up. But those who push past it, who refuse to surrender, are the ones who achieve the impossible. And someday, when someone else stands where he once stood, broken and tired, he would tell them this: when you are on the verge of giving up, remember this moment. Remember that it is just a test. And if you keep going, you will be amazed at how close you were to your breakthrough. And so, he took one more step, then another, and before he knew it, he was running towards his destiny, no longer a prisoner of doubt, but a warrior of resilience. He didn't know exactly where this road would lead him, but he knew one thing for certain: he would keep going. The voices of doubt would still whisper, the obstacles would still appear, but he would face them with the fire of someone who refused to surrender. Because in the end, the difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't talent or luck, it's the choice to keep moving forward, no matter what. As he moved forward, he started noticing things he had overlooked before. The small victories, the tiny moments of progress that had once seemed insignificant, now appeared as beacons of proof that he was getting somewhere. It wasn't just about reaching the goal. It was about learning, growing, and evolving along the way. He realized that the journey itself was as important as the destination. The struggle wasn't an enemy. It was a teacher. It sculpted him, refined him, and made him stronger. Every setback he had endured had built within him a resilience that would serve him far beyond this moment. He began to see obstacles as challenges rather than roadblocks, as tests rather than punishments. If he could push past this, he could push past anything. With every passing moment, his confidence grew. He was no longer the man who had stood at the edge of despair. He was someone new, someone who had faced fear and chosen courage. Someone who had embraced struggle and turned it into strength. The path ahead remained uncertain, but that no longer frightened him. Instead, it excited him. He wasn't just moving forward blindly. He was charging ahead with purpose, with the conviction that he was meant to rise, to succeed, to become the person he had always dreamed of being. And no matter what came next, he would keep going, one step, one battle, one victory at a time. He stood still for a moment, allowing the echoes of his past doubts to settle into silence. There had been too many times when he had convinced himself that he wasn't enough, that his efforts would always be in vain. But now, he realized that every battle he had faced, every tear shed in frustration, had been carving him into someone stronger. He had mistaken his struggles for signs of failure, when, in reality, they were the chisels shaping his resilience. He understood now that strength was not about never falling, it was about rising again, no matter how many times life tried to keep him down. As he took another step forward, the weight on his shoulders began to feel lighter. The burden of his past mistakes, the fear of an uncertain future, they were still there, but they no longer defined him. He had learned to embrace the unknown, to see his challenges not as punishments, but as opportunities for growth. Every moment of doubt had taught him something new: patience, perseverance, faith in himself. And with each lesson, he found himself moving with a new sense of purpose, a quiet confidence that whispered, "You are capable. You always were." Looking ahead, he knew the road wouldn't be easy. There would be obstacles, moments of exhaustion, and days when his mind would try to convince him to turn back. But he had come too far to surrender now. He had rewritten his story from one of despair to one of determination. He was no longer running from failure. He was chasing success. And as he embraced the journey ahead, he knew one thing for certain: he would never let doubt win again.